Eugenie Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In commenting just on part one of the Environmental Reporting Bill, the whole government objective for this bill, as outlined in the Departmental Disclosure Statement, was to have a legislative basis for independent environmental reporting in order to give the public certainty about the scope, timing and quality of information that they will receive. And it's recognised that there is quite a range of reporting that is done at the moment by regional councils, by territorial authorities, by Crown research institutes such as NIWA, and there is certainly it's a good idea to have a consistent, consolidated and comprehensive state of the environment reporting. So we support the original objective of the legislation, Mr. Chair, but it is fatally flawed because, as other speakers have noted, it doesn't provide for independent state of the environment reporting because the topics will be set by the Minister. And the comments that have been made about Clause 3, where previously it had quite a list of matters, one of those actually referred to ensuring that the reporting was to ensure that the producers of environmental reports independently and act independently and produce fair and accurate reports. And of course that has been amended through the Select Committee process by the wishes of the majority of the committee. So the purpose statement in Clause 3 is now much shorter. In my SOP 87 on this bill, I do propose a small change to that to actually include that the report should be on the state of New Zealand's environment, because simply reducing the purpose of the bill to require regular reports on New Zealand's environment means that they don't have to actually be about the state of the environment. And the Minister has been mischievous in the extreme and seeking to mislead as usual by suggesting that the opposition members of the Select Committee were not sort of supportive of the overall intent of the bill. And we were also very supportive of the changes to Part 1 in relation to Clause 4A, which recognised the Crown's responsibility to take appropriate account of te treaty, yet the Minister suggested when he made comments from the Chair that there was opposition to that. That was completely incorrect. We do support that clause in the bill, but we have quite major concerns about the lack of independence for the whole system. And I think the Minister in his comments from the Chair also suggested that opposition members should look at the Statistics Act and the fact that that Act provides for ministers to establish the matters that will be reported on. The major difference, Mr. Chair, is that that Act was passed in a time when there was a robust and independent public service. We have seen under this government a major hollowing out of the public service. We have seen a lot of interference by ministers, and we only have to look at the example of the minister responsible for this bill when he interfered with the Department of Conservation's responsibility for statutory advocacy on the Ruataniwha Dam and effectively quashed a 32-page submission by that department on the Ruataniwha Dam application. So the concern that ministers will interfere is a very real one, given, as the Minister himself alluded to, that there has already been an example of that happening with the suppression of a chapter of the State of the Environment report which made some recommendations for change. So the two major flaws with the bill are the lack of independence and also the real failure to ensure that the reports are comprehensive, that they take account of matters that where there is inadequate information, that's actually recognised, and I've got some changes in the supplementary order paper which address that matter. But Mr. Chair, the original purpose of the bill was good, to provide this independent system, but that is not what the bill is actually going to deliver. And the opposition members, when they have been talking about the bill, say that it recognises that, Mr Chair.
Eugenia Sage.
Thank you. That the protection of the environment is intrinsic
Order.
to every Kiwi. That was what Mr Ducey said. So what is the government so afraid of in having the Secretary for the Environment and the head of the Department of Statistics actually making the decisions around what topics should be reported on? What are they so afraid of that they want ministers to set out those topics? And the provisions in this bill for regulations are only there to enable ministers to set the topics to be reported on, and that is a major deficiency in the bill. So I've got a number of changes that are set out in the SOP, and I hope other members can support these. We have sought to be constructive with these changes. They are not the sweeping changes that we would have liked to have made to the bill, and I think it is very disappointing that the government has not taken up this opportunity to improve the bill, because once again it is an example of legislation that the government is ramming through that doesn't have the support of all of the House, and it is such a fundamental part of our environmental policy to ensure that we have robust state of the environment reporting to inform changes to the law, to inform changes to policy, yet the national government wants to slant that reporting by having it politicised, and it wants to risk the legislation being changed when there is a change of government. It would be much better with this sort of legislation to have a consensus across the House and for the government to take on board some of the changes that are being proposed through the SOP in order to improve the bill rather than just reject them as we expect that they will do. Thank you.